I stared at the empty chair across the table, the flickering candlelight casting shadows where Mason should have been sitting. The waiter approached, his polite smile tinged with pity. "Would you like to order now, ma'am, or wait a bit longer?" I glanced at my watch, 8:15 p.m. An hour and 15 minutes late. "Just a few more minutes, please," I said, forcing a smile. As the waiter retreated, I pulled out my phone, hoping for a message explaining Mason's absence. Nothing. I dialed his number for the third time that evening, only to be sent straight to voicemail. "Mason, it's me again. Where are you? It's our anniversary dinner. Please call me back." I hung up, my stomach churning with a mix of worry and frustration. This wasn't like Mason. Sure, he'd been distant lately, working longer hours and taking more business trips, but he'd never forgotten our anniversary before. The restaurant buzzed around me, happy couples laughing and clinking glasses. I felt like a spectacle, sitting alone at a table set for two, my untouched glass of wine a silent accusation. Just as I was about to admit defeat and leave, my phone pinged. Finally. But instead of the apologetic text I was expecting, it was an email. From Mason. My hands shook as I opened it, dread settling in my chest. "Piper, I'm sorry, but I won't be able to make dinner tonight. An unexpected work commitment came up that I couldn't reschedule. I know it's our anniversary, and I feel terrible about this. I'll make it up to you, I promise. Mason." I read the email 3 times, disbelief turning to anger. An email? On our anniversary? And what work commitment could possibly be so important that he couldn't even call? "Is everything all right, ma'am?" The waiter had returned, concern etched on his face. I blinked back tears, suddenly aware of how pathetic I must look. "I'm afraid my husband won't be joining me after all," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "Could I get the check, please?" As I gathered my things, my phone rang. For a moment, hope flared. Maybe Mason had realized his mistake and was calling to apologize. But the name on the screen wasn't his. It was Angela, my best friend. "Hey, Piper. How's the anniversary dinner going? Has Mason surprised you with anything special?" I swallowed hard, fighting back a sob. "He didn't show up, Ong. He sent an email about some work thing." "What?" Angela's voice rose in indignation. "An email? On your anniversary? Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Do you want me to come over?" "No, it's okay," I said, stepping out into the cool night air. "I think I just need to be alone right now." "All right, but call me if you need anything." "And Piper? This isn't okay. You deserve better than this." I ended the call, Angela's words echoing in my head as I walked to my car. She was right. This wasn't okay. But it wasn't just tonight. It was the missed dinners, the distracted conversations, the growing distance between us. How had we gotten here? As I drove home, memories of happier anniversaries flooded my mind. Mason surprising me with a weekend getaway, the intimate dinner he'd cooked for our 5th anniversary, the beautiful necklace he'd given me last year. When had things changed? I pulled into our driveway, the dark house a stark reminder of my solitary evening. As I fumbled for my keys, a movement caught my eye. Our neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, was outside watering her roses. "Oh, Piper, you're home early. I thought you and Mason were celebrating your anniversary tonight." I plastered on a smile, not ready to face the truth. "Change of plans," I said vaguely. "Have a good night, Mrs. Thompson." Inside, I kicked off my heels and collapsed on the couch, the silence of the house oppressive. My gaze fell on our wedding photo on the mantel, Mason's arm around me, both of us beaming with hope and love. "Where are you, Mason?" I whispered to the empty room. "And what aren't you telling me?" Little did I know, the answers to those questions would shatter my world and set me on a path I never could have imagined. I woke up to the sound of the front door closing. Glancing at the clock, I saw it was just past 6 a.m. Mason was home. Throwing on my robe, I headed downstairs, a mix of anger and relief churning in my stomach. I found him in the kitchen, pouring coffee. "Where have you been?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. Mason turned, dark circles under his eyes. Piper, I'm sorry about last night. I got caught up in work and dash. Work? I interrupted. What kind of work keeps you out all night without even a phone call? He sighed, running a hand through his disheveled hair. Look, I didn't want to do this now, but I've been offered a new job. It's a big opportunity, but it means relocating. I felt like I'd been slapped. Relocating? When were you planning on telling me this? I was trying to figure out the best way, he said, not meeting my eyes. It all happened so fast. Fast? I echoed. How long have you known about this? Mason hesitated, and I knew. This wasn't new information. He'd been keeping this from me. A few weeks, he admitted. I wanted to make sure it was a sure thing before I told you. A few weeks. I repeated, my voice rising. And you didn't think to mention it? We're supposed to be partners, Mason. We make decisions like this together. He had the grace to look ashamed. I know I should have told you sooner. But this is a huge opportunity for me. For us. Us. I laughed bitterly. What about my job? My career? Did you even think about that? Come on, Piper, he said, a note of condescension creeping into his voice. We both know your job isn't as important as mine. This could set us up for life. I stared at him, shocked. Not as important. I love my job. It's not just about the money. Mason sighed, as if explaining something to a child. Sometimes we have to make sacrifices for the greater good. I thought you'd be excited about this. Excited? I felt like I was in a bad dream. You make a life-changing decision without consulting me, miss our anniversary dinner, and expect me to be excited? I said I was sorry about dinner, he snapped. But this is bigger than one missed date. This is our future we're talking about. Our future. I echoed. It sounds like you've already decided what our future looks like, without any input from me. Mason's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then back at me. Look, I have to go. We'll talk about this later, okay? Try to think about the positives. Before I could respond, he was gone, leaving me standing in the kitchen, feeling like the ground had shifted beneath my feet. In a daze, I called Angela. He what? She exclaimed when I told her. Oh, honey, I'm coming over right now. 30 minutes later, we sat on my couch, mugs of tea in hand. I can't believe he'd make a decision like that without talking to you, Angela said, shaking her head. That's not how a marriage works. I don't know what to do, I admitted. He seems to have it all planned out, like my opinion doesn't even matter. Angela took my hand. Listen to me, Piper. You matter. Your career matters. Your dreams matter. Don't let anyone, not even your husband, tell you otherwise. As her words sank in, something else occurred to me. Angela, he said he's known about this for weeks. That means all those late nights at the office, those business trips. You think he's been lying about those? Angela asked gently. I nodded, feeling sick. What else has he been lying about? Just then my phone pinged. It was an email from Mason's company. My heart raced as I opened it. What is it? Angela asked, seeing my face pale. I looked up at her, my world crumbling around me. It's a company-wide announcement. Mason didn't just accept a new job. He resigned. 2 weeks ago. As the implications of this new deception washed over me, I realized that the man I thought I knew, the marriage I thought I had, might all be a carefully constructed lie. And I was determined to uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be. I spent the next few days in a fog, trying to make sense of Mason's deception. Angela had been a godsend, checking in on me and offering support. But I knew I had to face Mason eventually. When he finally came home, I was ready. Or so I thought. We need to talk, I said as he walked through the door. Mason nodded, his face unreadable. Yes, we do. We sat at the kitchen table, the tension palpable. Before I could speak, Mason pulled out a thick envelope and placed it between us. What's this? I asked, my heart racing. Divorce papers, he said flatly. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Divorce papers? I echoed, my voice barely a whisper. Mason sighed, looking almost bored. Come on, Piper. You must have seen this coming. We've been growing apart for years. Growing apart? I sputtered. You've been lying to me for weeks, maybe months. And now you just hand me divorce papers. He shrugged. I thought it would be easier this way. Clean break. Easier for who? I demanded, anger rising. You? While you've been planning your new life, I've been here, thinking we were building a future together. Mason's expression hardened. That's part of the problem, Piper. You've been so focused on your career. You haven't been the wife I need. I stared at him, incredulous. The wife you need? What does that even mean? It means, he said, his voice cold, that I need someone who puts our home first. Someone who's there to support me, not competing with me. Competing. I felt like I was in some bizarre alternate reality. I thought we were partners. I thought you were proud of my success. Mason scoffed. Your little job? Come on, Piper. We both know it's not in the same league as my career. Each word was like a knife to my heart. My little job has supported us just as much as yours, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. And it's not just about money. I love what I do. And that's the problem, Mason snapped. You're too independent. A wife should be there to serve her husband, to make his life easier, not gallivanting off to her own career. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Serve you? What century are you living in, Mason? We're supposed to be equals. He stood up abruptly. Well, maybe that's why this isn't working. I need a traditional wife, someone who understands her place. Her place, I repeated, my voice rising. And where exactly is that? In the kitchen? At your beck and call. Mason's face flushed with anger. Don't twist my words. I just want what any man wants. A supportive wife who puts our home first. No, I said, standing to face him. What you want is a doormat. Someone to boost your ego and cater to your every whim. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not me. And it never will be. For a moment we stood there, glaring at each other. Then Mason grabbed his keys. I'm staying at a hotel, he said. Have your lawyer contact mine about the papers. As the door slammed behind him, I sank back into my chair, my mind reeling. How had we gone from planning our future to discussing divorce in just a few days? I looked at the envelope on the table, my hand shaking as I reached for it. Inside, I found not just divorce papers, but a detailed prenuptial agreement I didn't even remember signing. It heavily favored Mason in any split. Tears of frustration and anger welled up. I'd been so blind, so trusting. But no more. If Mason wanted a fight, he'd get one. I picked up my phone and dialed Angela's number. Hey, I said when she answered. Can you recommend a good divorce lawyer? I think I'm going to need one. As I hung up, I felt a strange mix of fear and determination. My marriage might be over, but I was just beginning to fight for myself. The invitation to my high school reunion couldn't have come at a worse time. Or maybe it was exactly what I needed. With Mason out of the house and divorce looming, I decided to go, if only to escape the suffocating silence of our once shared home. As I entered the school gymnasium, now transformed with streamers and balloons, I felt a wave of nostalgia mixed with anxiety. Familiar faces, now lined with age, greeted me warmly. Piper, is that you? A voice called out. I turned to see Sarah, my old lab partner, waving enthusiastically. Sarah, hi. I managed a smile, grateful for a friendly face. As we chatted, catching up on 2 decades of life, I found myself relaxing. It felt good to talk about something other than my crumbling marriage. So, what have you been up to? Sarah asked. Still with that handsome boyfriend of yours. Mason, was it? I hesitated, unsure how to respond. But before I could formulate an answer, another voice chimed in. Oh, Piper's done quite well for herself, said Jennifer, who had been eavesdropping. I hear she's some big shot at her company now. I blushed, both flattered and embarrassed. It's not that impressive, really. I just work hard. Nonsense, Jennifer insisted. We need more women like you in the corporate world. Show those men we can have it all, career and family. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Family. The one thing I thought I had now slipping away. Actually, I found myself saying, Mason and we're getting divorced. The words hung in the air, heavy and final. Saying it out loud made it real in a way it hadn't been before. Sarah's face fell. Oh, Piper, I'm so sorry. But Jennifer's reaction surprised me. Good for you, she said firmly. Excuse me. I blinked, taken aback. Look, Jennifer said, lowering her voice. I've been through it. My ex-husband wanted me to give up my career to be a proper wife. But I refused to dim my light for anyone. Now, I'm happier than ever. As Jennifer shared her story, other women gathered around. Soon, I found myself in a circle of successful, independent women, each with their own tale of triumph over adversity. There was Lisa, who started her own business after her divorce. Maria, who went back to school in her 40s and was now a respected professor. And Angela, a single mother who had raised 3 children while climbing the corporate ladder. Their stories filled me with a strange mix of hope and regret. These women had faced challenges head-on, refusing to be defined by their relationships or society's expectations. But what about your career? I asked Angela. How did you manage it all? She smiled warmly. It wasn't easy, but I refused to choose. My career was part of who I was, not something to be sacrificed. The right partner should understand that. As the night wore on, I found myself laughing and sharing in a way I hadn't in years. These women, with their strength and resilience, were showing me a path forward I hadn't considered. Driving home, my mind raced. Mason's words echoed in my head. I need a traditional wife, someone who understands her place. But now, those words didn't fill me with doubt. Instead, they fueled a growing anger and determination. My place wasn't behind Mason, supporting his dreams at the expense of my own. My place was wherever I chose it to be. As I pulled into our driveway, I made a decision. I wouldn't just accept this divorce. I would embrace it. It wasn't the end of my story, but a new beginning. With trembling hands, I pulled out my phone and dialed the number of the divorce lawyer Angela had recommended. Hello, I said, my voice steady. I need to schedule an appointment. It's time I fought for myself. As I hung up, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The road ahead would be tough, but for the first time in weeks, I felt ready to face it. Mason might have given up on our marriage, but I wasn't about to give up on myself. The day had finally come to sort through our belongings. With Angela by my side for moral support, I began the painful process of dividing our shared life into his and hers. You don't have to do this alone, you know, Angela said, squeezing my shoulder. I managed a weak smile. I know, but I need to face this. It's part of moving on. As we worked our way through the living room, memories flooded back with each item we touched. The vase from our honeymoon, the throw pillows we'd argued over at IKEA, the framed photos of happier times. What do you want to do with these? Angela asked, holding up a stack of photo albums. I hesitated, then shook my head. Pack them away. I'm not ready to look at those yet. We moved to the bedroom, the heart of our shared space. As I opened Mason's closet, a shoebox tumbled from the top shelf, spilling its contents across the floor. I'll get that, I said, bending down to gather the scattered papers. But as I reached for an envelope, something caught my eye. It was a medical document with Mason's name on it. Curiosity got the better of me, and I unfolded the paper. As I read, my eyes widened in disbelief. Piper? What is it? Angela asked, noticing my shocked expression. I looked up at her, my voice barely a whisper. It's a receipt for plastic surgery. Plastic surgery? Angela echoed, surprised. Mason. I nodded, still processing the information. Not just one procedure. Multiple surgeries. Nose job, chin implant, even hair transplants. As I dug through the rest of the papers, a picture emerged that I never could have imagined. Medical records, before and after photos, consultation notes, all documenting Mason's transformation over the years. I can't believe it, I said, sinking onto the bed. All this time I thought, he always looked good, but I assumed it was just good genes and taking care of himself. Angela sat beside me, her face a mix of concern and curiosity. Did he ever mention any of this to you? I shook my head, feeling a fresh wave of betrayal wash over me. Never. Not once in all our years together. As the reality sank in, anger began to replace my shock. All those times he criticized my appearance, made snide comments about me letting myself go. And all along he was, what? Secretly remaking himself. Oh, honey, Angela said softly. I'm so sorry. I stood up abruptly, pacing the room. You know what the worst part is? It's not even the surgeries themselves. It's the lying, the hypocrisy. He made me feel so insecure about my looks, and all this time. My voice trailed off as another thought struck me. Wait a minute. Remember how he always insisted on separate bank accounts? Said it was for financial independence? Angela nodded, realization dawning on her face. You think he was hiding the cost of the surgeries? It must have cost a fortune, I said, rifling through the receipts. No wonder he was always so stressed about money, even though we both had good jobs. As I pieced together this new reality, years of small inconsistencies and odd behaviors suddenly made sense. The business trips that left him looking refreshed rather than tired. His obsession with his appearance. The way he'd flinch when I touched certain parts of his face. What are you going to do? Angela asked gently. I took a deep breath, feeling a strange calm settle over me. I'm going to use this, I said, my voice steady. Mason thinks he can walk away from our marriage with everything. Well, he's about to learn that I'm not as naive as he thinks. I gathered the documents, my mind already racing with possibilities. This wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about exposing the truth, about standing up for myself against years of manipulation and deceit. Angela, I said, turning to my friend with newfound determination, can you call that lawyer friend of yours again? I think I'm going to need some expert advice on how to handle this. As Angela nodded and reached for her phone, I felt a surge of energy. Mason had underestimated me for the last time. Now, armed with this unexpected revelation, I was ready to fight not just for my fair share, but for my dignity and self-respect. The game had changed, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt like I might just have the upper hand. The divorce proceedings were moving forward, but nothing could have prepared me for the bombshell that was about to drop. I was at the grocery store, absent-mindedly picking through apples, when my phone buzzed with a notification. It was a social media alert, something I rarely paid attention to these days. But the headline made my blood run cold. Local business tycoon Mason Richards weds in surprise ceremony. My hands shaking, I clicked on the link. There in full color was Mason. My Mason. Or rather, the man I thought I knew. He was beaming at the camera, his arm around a stunning blonde in a white dress. The article gushed about the whirlwind romance and their plans for the future. I felt like I was going to be sick right there in the produce aisle. Piper? Are you okay? I looked up to see Mrs. Thompson, our neighbor, peering at me with concern. I must have looked as shell-shocked as I felt. I'm fine, I managed to stammer. Just not feeling well. Excuse me. I abandoned my cart and rushed out of the store, barely making it to my car before the tears started falling. How could he do this? We weren't even divorced yet, and he was already married to someone else? As I sat there, trying to catch my breath, I scrolled through the article again. That's when I saw it. The bride's name, Lana Prescott. Lana. The name hit me like a ton of bricks. I knew her. We'd gone to high school together. She'd always been the pretty one, the popular one, the one all the boys wanted to date. Memories came flooding back. Lana, always perfectly put together. Lana, winning beauty pageants. Lana, who'd mysteriously disappeared for a summer and come back looking different. That's when it clicked. Lana had had plastic surgery too. It had been the talk of the school, though no one dared say it to her face. And now here she was, married to Mason. Mason, who'd hidden his own surgical enhancements from me for years. I don't know how long I sat there in the parking lot, my mind reeling. It was Angela's call that finally snapped me out of it. "Piper? Have you seen the news?" "Yeah," I said, my voice hollow. "I've seen it." "Oh, honey. I'm so sorry. Do you want me to come over?" I was about to say yes when another detail from the article flashed in my mind. "Angela," I said slowly, "the article mentioned something else. Lana's pregnant." The silence on the other end was deafening. "That son of a..." Angela started, but I cut her off. "How long do you think?" I couldn't even finish the sentence. "Oh, Piper. I don't know. But we're going to figure this out, okay? This changes things with the divorce. We need to call your lawyer right away." As Angela spoke, laying out a plan of action, I felt a strange calm settle over me. The initial shock was wearing off, replaced by a cold, hard determination. "You're right," I said, starting my car. "But first, I need to make a stop. Piper, what are you thinking?" I could hear the worry in Angela's voice, but I was beyond caring. "I'm thinking it's time for a little high school reunion," I said grimly. "I'm going to pay our newlyweds a visit." "Beeper, wait." But I had already hung up. As I pulled out of the parking lot, my mind was racing. Mason thought he could just discard me, replace me with a newer model? Well, he was about to learn that I wasn't going down without a fight. And Lana? Sweet, perfect Lana? She was in for a rude awakening too. Because if there's one thing I'd learned from this whole ordeal, it's that appearances can be deceiving. And I was done being deceived. As I drove towards the address listed in the article, I felt a mix of anger, hurt, and something else. Something that felt dangerously close to vengeance. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain: Mason and Lana's picture-perfect new life was about to get a lot more complicated. I stood at the doorstep of Mason and Lana's new home, my heart pounding. The manicured lawn and pristine exterior seemed to mock me, a stark contrast to the turmoil inside me. Taking a deep breath, I rang the doorbell. Lana answered, her perfect smile faltering as she recognized me. "Piper? What are you doing here?" "Hello, Lana," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I think we need to talk." Before she could respond, Mason appeared behind her. His face paled. "Piper, this isn't appropriate. You shouldn't be here." I pushed past them into the foyer, my resolve strengthening. "Oh, I think this is exactly where I should be. We have some unfinished business to discuss." Lana looked between us, confusion evident on her face. "Mason, what's going on?" I turned to her, a bitter smile on my lips. "Has Mason told you about his little secret? Or should I say, his big secret?" Mason stepped forward, his voice low and threatening. "Piper, don't do this." But I was beyond caring about his threats. "You see, Lana, our dear Mason here has been hiding something from both of us. Did you know about his extensive plastic surgery history?" Lana's eyes widened, darting to Mason's face. "What is she talking about?" I pulled out the documents I'd found, spreading them on the nearby console table. Nose job, chin implant, hair transplants. The list goes on. He's not exactly the natural specimen he pretends to be. Mason's face contorted with rage. "You had no right to go through my personal things." "Personal things?" I laughed humorlessly. "You mean the things you hid from your wife for years? The procedures you paid for with our joint savings?" Lana stepped closer, examining the documents. Her hand unconsciously moved to her swollen belly. "Mason, is this true?" I watched as Mason's carefully constructed facade began to crumble. But I wasn't done yet. "And Lana," I said, turning to her, "does Mason know about your own history with plastic surgery? That summer in high school when you came back looking different?" Lana's face drained of color. "How did you?" Mason's head snapped towards Lana. "What is she talking about?" I felt a twisted satisfaction as I watched them both squirm. Oh, isn't this interesting? Two people so obsessed with perfection, hiding their true selves from each other. "Get out," Mason growled, advancing towards me. "Get out now, or I'll call the police." But Lana put a hand on his arm, stopping him. "No, Mason. I want to hear this. I want to know everything." For a moment we all stood there, the air thick with tension. Then, almost in slow motion, I saw Lana's eyes roll back. She swayed, her knees buckling. "Lana!" Mason cried, catching her before she hit the ground. In an instant, all thoughts of revenge fled my mind. We rushed to help, Mason cradling Lana's head while I called 911. As we waited for the ambulance, I found myself holding Lana's hand, our past rivalry forgotten in the face of this crisis. Mason paced anxiously, his carefully crafted image in shambles. When the paramedics arrived, they quickly assessed Lana. "She's going into early labor," one of them announced. "We need to get her to the hospital now." As they wheeled Lana out, she gripped my hand tightly. "Piper," she whispered, her voice weak. "Please come with us." I don't want to be alone." I looked at Mason, seeing the fear and uncertainty in his eyes. In that moment, I realized the hollowness of my revenge. Here we were, three flawed individuals, facing a crisis that made our petty grievances seem insignificant. "Of course," I heard myself say. "I'll be right there with you." As we rushed to the hospital, I felt a strange mix of emotions. The anger and bitterness that had driven me here were still present, but now they were tempered with something else. Compassion? Understanding? I wasn't sure. What I did know was that whatever happened next would change all of our lives forever. And as the sirens wailed and the city blurred past us, I found myself praying, not for revenge, but for Lana and her unborn child. A year had passed since that fateful day at the hospital. The divorce was finalized, and I had thrown myself into my career and personal growth. Life had settled into a new normal, one where I was finally putting myself first. I was enjoying a quiet Sunday morning when my phone rang. Mason's name flashed on the screen. I hesitated, then answered. "Piper." Mason's voice was strained. I need to talk to you." "What is it, Mason?" I asked, surprised by the urgency in his tone. He took a deep breath. "It's about the baby. She doesn't look anything like us. Lana's freaking out and I don't know what to do." I closed my eyes, memories of that day in their house flooding back. "Mason, remember when I told you about Lana's plastic surgeries?" "Yes, but dash." "And your own?" I interrupted. There was a long pause. "What are you saying?" I sighed, realizing the weight of what I was about to reveal. "Mason, you both had extensive work done. It's not surprising that your child might not resemble either of you. But how can you be sure?" His voice was small, uncertain. "Because I found your medical records, Mason. All those surgeries you hid from me for years? They changed a lot more than just your appearance." The silence on the other end was deafening. I could almost hear the pieces clicking into place in Mason's mind. "Oh God," he finally whispered. "What have we done?" I felt a mix of emotions, pity, vindication, and oddly, a sense of closure. "You both made choices, Mason. Now you have to live with them." "Piper, I'm sorry. For everything. I never meant dash. Save it." I cut him off, but without malice. "What's done is done. What matters now is how you move forward. That child deserves parents who love her unconditionally, regardless of how she looks." I heard a muffled sob on the other end. "You're right. Of course you're right. I wish I had realized all this sooner." As I listened to Mason's regrets, I felt the last vestiges of anger and hurt melt away. In its place was a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. "Mason," I said softly, "learn from this. Be better. For your daughter's sake." "I will," he promised. "Thank you, Piper, for everything." After we hung up, I sat in silence, reflecting on how far I'd come. The woman I was a year ago would have relished in Mason's distress, seen it as just revenge. But now, I felt only compassion and a profound sense of gratitude for my own journey. I picked up my phone again and dialed Angela's number. "Hey, you," she answered cheerfully. "Still on for our hike this afternoon?" "Absolutely," I smiled. But first, I have a story to tell you. As I recounted my conversation with Mason, I felt lighter with each word. Angela listened intently, offering words of support and admiration. "Piper," she said when I finished, "I'm so proud of you. You've come so far." "Thanks, Ong," I replied, feeling a warmth spread through me. "I couldn't have done it without you." After we hung up, I walked to my bedroom mirror. The woman staring back at me was different from the one who had stood in this same spot a year ago. Her eyes were clearer, her stance more confident. She had weathered the storm and come out stronger. I smiled at my reflection, feeling a surge of excitement for what the future held. My career was thriving, I had true friends who supported me, and most importantly, I had found myself again. As I laced up my hiking boots, ready to embrace the beautiful day ahead, I realized that this moment of pure, unadulterated contentment was the sweetest revenge of all. I had reclaimed my life, my happiness, and my sense of self, and no one could ever take that away from me again. Stepping out into the sunshine, I took a deep breath of fresh air. The path ahead was clear, and I was ready to walk it on my own terms with my head held high. This wasn't just an ending. It was a new beginning, and I couldn't wait to see where it would lead.
Please let me know if anyone is willing to hire someone with such a low level of qualifications. That is, assuming there is such a fool. This is the last interview with Major Bank. Right there, I was shaking with rage at being made fun of for my evening high school degree. All right, give it a minute. I'll give him a call if you really want to see him. As he had hoped, the interviewer went white when that idiot showed up. The individual I contacted was, "David Miller is my name. I recently received my diploma from an evening high school this spring, and I am 20 years old. I was born in France and returned to the United States when I was in the 8th grade because of my dad's work circumstances. However, despite the fact that both of my parents are Americans, I was born and reared in France. In my daily life, I spoke French most of the time, and my English was not very good. I was always alone myself, struggled to communicate in English, and did not fit in at school. I enrolled in a night school after finishing middle school. My night school classmates came from a variety of backgrounds, ages, and genders. Instead of making light of my poor English, they graciously offered me assistance. I'd never felt uncomfortable because there were people older than me. Conversely, more people began requesting that I teach them French. At first, I had trouble communicating because I had no friends and didn't know how to interact with people. Although I didn't fit in at middle school, I gained a lot of friends as the days passed, and I grew accustomed to my peers. High school gave me the opportunity to live each day with joy and fulfillment, whereas middle school was a place of fear and lack of fun. I'm standing in front of a big bank now. I just bought the brand new outfit I'm wearing. I'm interviewing with this bank today. It was unexpected that I would be interviewed by such a large bank. Nervously, I held my hand to my pounding heart and thought of all the encouraging things I had heard. All right, let's do this. I inhaled deeply before I began to move. Inside, I chatted with a staff person who directed me to what appeared to be the interview room, which had the sign, "Conference Room." "Please wait here until you are called." "Understood. Thank you." After thanking the person who let me in, I took a seat in the chair that was supplied. I waited for 15 minutes or so. "I apologize for the wait. The interview will now start. Come in, please." "Yes, thank you." A woman within beckoned to me. I inhaled deeply once more before going into the room. "Please take a seat." "Thank you." The woman urged me to sit down as soon as I walked into the room, and I did so, feeling anxious and uncomfortable. The woman who had just spoken to me was the record-keeping lady, and the interviewer was a man named Mitchell. I sat down, and Mitchell sighed deeply as he looked at the resume I had sent ahead of time. "Well, all right then. Shall we begin the interview?" "Oh, yes. Thank you." I felt uneasy with Mitchell's casual approach, but I wondered if perhaps he was interviewing me during an exceptionally busy time. So I adjusted my attitude and replied accordingly. However, you're a high school diploma. Yes, and it was an evening program. I see. Murmuring to himself, he looked genuinely annoyed and propped his chin up with his hand. Your name is Miller, right? Yes. Returning from France, but with this educational background. Well, I noticed the job posting didn't require a specific education background. Yes, well, but who would have thought someone with just a high school diploma would apply, especially from an evening program? Excuse me, but is there an issue with coming from an evening high school program? I couldn't help but sense the disdain in his words, so I dared to ask. However, in the next moment, he burst out laughing. This is hilarious. Sorry, no, my apologies. I just didn't expect such an obvious question. Obvious? What's he talking about? Miller, you asked if there's a problem with attending an evening program. Of course there is. What? After all, evening high schools are where those who couldn't make it to regular high schools end up, right? Moreover, you didn't even go to college, did you? Isn't that just a nest of issues? Who would want to hire such low-tier candidates? If there's someone out there willing to hire them, please let me know. But I doubt there's anyone that foolish. Laughing uproariously, he seemed to find his own words so funny that tears formed in his eyes. The record-keeping lady, on the other hand, didn't even glance at him and appeared to be silently typing down the conversation. All I could hear in the room were Mitchell's laughter, the lady's typing, and the subtle trembling of my anger. Should I have just stayed silent? Who does this guy think he is? No matter his position, does he think it's okay to treat a serious job applicant who came for an interview like this? Being ridiculed to this extent and feeling so unwelcome in an interview, I'd honestly want to walk out right now. But leaving now after being made a fool of really rubs me the wrong way. And more than anything, I just can't let it go. Understood. Understood. Can I take a moment of your time? Ku, what are you? Overcome by anger, a deep, gruff voice emerged from me, deeper than I had anticipated. But when Mitchell, who seemingly expected me to tuck tail and run, heard my voice, he noticeably flinched. He seemed deeply shaken by my demeanor. Seeing that, I realized I needed to remain calm. Taking a deep breath, I said, "Excuse me for a moment," and pulled out my mobile from my bag. "What are you doing? We're in the middle of an interview." He stared at me, and I glared back. "Well, wasn't it you who said you wanted to see?" "Huh. You want to see someone like me, the bottom of the barrel, getting hired, right? Hey, what are you getting at? Are you mocking me?" "I'd never mock. I'm just about to call the fool who hires the bottom of the barrel. So, please wait a moment." Emphasizing the fool who hires the bottom of the barrel, he seemed to shrink under my gaze, falling silent. While keeping my gaze fixed on him, I pressed the call button. The person on the other end picked up immediately. "Hello. What's up?" "I'm sorry. The interviewer is asking for you. Can you come?" "Got it. I'll be right there." Because I had the call on speaker, Mitchell heard the voice too. What just happened? His face grew paler by the second. He stood up, seemingly in a panic, pacing the room, then sat back down, visibly distraught. I didn't say a word, just watched him. A few minutes later, he must have really come right away. The conference room door opened, and there was a palpable tension in the air. "Excuse me." Upon seeing the man in his 60s who entered, Mitchell practically fell over himself in his rush to bow deeply. "Thompson, why are you here?" "Why didn't you call for me?" "I just came because I was summoned." "Is there a problem?" The man referred to as Fawn gave a pale Mitchell a brief look, then turned to me. "Sorry for the wait." "No worries. I apologize for calling you out of the blue." "That's all right. After all, I asked you for this favor in the first place, so no need to fret. The person I called on the phone was Mike Thompson, the CEO of this bank. So, what the heck happened? He glanced between me, Mitchell, and the female secretary. As I was wondering where to begin, Mitchell hurriedly approached Thompson. Thompson raised his eyebrows in dismay at Mitchell's fluster. Thompson, you misunderstand. I didn't call for you. I was just telling him that, based on his qualifications, he wasn't fit for the job. Then, for some reason, he called you. Wait, how did you even get Zill's contact? It seemed Mitchell finally realized something was off. This is a bit awkward to say, but this is Thompson, the CEO you were eager to see. The fool who hires bottom feeders like me. After introducing him with a warm smile, Mitchell stared at me, mouth agape, looking utterly defeated. What's going on here? Nothing much, really. I'm just a regular guy here for an interview. However, I've known Thompson for years, and he recommended me for this position. You're lying. Thompson, nodding in agreement with my words, chimed in. It's no lie. David is someone I've kept an eye on for years. I heard he graduated high school recently, and I wanted him to work for us, so I scouted him. You personally, Thompson. If that's the case, why did he even need an interview? Why was I involved in that? Mitchell, it was to keep an eye on you. Excuse me? Mitchell, with a look of complete confusion, was met by Thompson's piercing gaze. Last month, I received a complaint from someone who had interviewed with us. A complaint. The man in charge of the interview, Mitchell, had a terrible attitude. What? I've received such complaints before, not just about you. People have different perspectives and interpretations. But in the last few months, there's been an unusual spike in similar complaints, and every single one points to you, Mitchell. They say you laughed at their resumes, mocked their appearances. The complaints varied, but they all centered on you. That's a misunderstanding. I would never. Then what about what David just said earlier? That. He made that up. He's trying to frame me. Is that so? Yes. I never said any such thing. Not today, not in any previous interviews. Thinking he could brush it off with just a nod from Thompson, he began to ramble on. He was completely oblivious to the fact that there wasn't a hint of a smile in Thompson's eyes. Mitchell. Yes. If what you're saying is indeed true, we'll need to thoroughly investigate everything that's happened up till now. Huh. First, we should confirm the rumors David mentioned. Have you got the records? Yes, here they are. Thank you. Boom. What's that? The one approached by Thompson was a quiet female secretary who had been present the whole time. She nodded in response to Thompson's voice and handed something she pulled out from her pocket to him. Everything from the earlier interview has been recorded on this. We need to check it now and verify whose story holds up. Watching Thompson swing the voice recorder, Mitchell broke into a cold sweat and just collapsed right there. He probably realized he couldn't pull the wool over anyone's eyes. In his frustration, he snapped at the woman. Hey, did you deceive me? However, Thompson intervened. It's what I gave her. I was hoping it'd serve as evidence to clear your name. What do you mean by deceived? You've got nothing to hide, right? If so, shouldn't you be grateful this exists? Oh. Mitchell was at a loss for words and hung his head in defeat. Mitchell, now is not the time to make excuses, lash out in anger, or remain silent. At Thompson's words, Mitchell slowly stood up and said, I'm truly sorry. However, frightened by Thompson, who raised his voice, saying, You're apologizing to the wrong person, he reflexively turned to face me. In a barely audible voice, he whispered, I'm truly sorry. Apologizing to me? You stay home for a while. I'll inform you about the disciplinary actions later. With Mitchell looking downcast, I left the room with Thompson. It's been a while, hasn't it? Yes, it has. I was led by him into a lounge. While enjoying a cup of tea that the secretary had made for me, he apologized to me with a grave look. "I'm deeply sorry for causing you distress. Even if it was for auditing purposes, I truly am. Please, it's okay. Mitchell was really harsh earlier. It got to me, and I retaliated. I'm sorry. It's all right. You're the one who endured. If anyone is ridiculed without reason, it's understandable to be angry. You're especially quick-witted, so you must have been able to keep your cool, as expected of a genius. Please stop. That's all in the past. Even when I was in France, I always excelled academically more than others. By the time thoughts of returning to the U.S. started at home, I was already studying at a high school level, having skipped grades. However, I could not speak English, so I transferred to an American junior high school. I had to study topics in English, a language I wasn't accustomed to, even though I had already covered them back in France. You know, I often wonder just how far you would have gone if you had stayed in France. Yeah, I wonder that myself. I'd guess if that was the case, maybe by now I'd be studying at a prestigious university in France, perhaps conducting research or even working after completing college. The possibility of having started a business existed too. When I think of all the potential paths, there's a sense of regret. However, I'm quite content with where I am now. Well, I wanted to witness your potential firsthand, which is why I wanted you here and gave you this opportunity for the interview. You're overestimating me. No, it's not. But I didn't expect Mitchell to be so much. You must be exhausted. Take a break, okay? Thank you. I had heard it was just a formality of an interview, so I was taken aback when I was asked to cooperate with information about Mitchell. In the end, I too said some immature things, but I'm relieved it all seemed to settle down. How did a regular guy like me get to know the CEO of a major bank, Thompson? If asked, I would answer, because he's my benefactor. I first met him during the summer of my 8th grade. I wasn't adjusting well to school. The subjects were all too easy and uninteresting, and English was challenging with many unfamiliar things. Everything wasn't going well for me. With my teenage rebellious phase hitting hard, I began wandering the streets of the entertainment district late at night. One night, while wandering through the neon-lit streets as usual, it was Thompson who approached me. "You're a junior high kid, aren't you? What are you doing out this late? What's it to you, old man? Mind your own business." That's rude to call me an old man. You look every bit the part. Or should I say, geezer. A bitter laugh escaped him at being called that. I remember being taken aback when, despite my sarcastic tone, he began laughing cheerfully. After that, every time I went to the entertainment district, he would inevitably show up. He always asked me, "What are you doing out this late?" But he never once told me to go straight home. I think he might have been approaching other kids like me, knowing that each of us had our own burdens. So, he deliberately never told us to go home. At first, I found him annoying. But over time, I began to open up to him. He would listen to everything and affirm me. 2 easy classes and unfamiliar English. Frustration is going to build up. You get it, old man. Of course. I ain't a fool, you know. You're sharp and have a good head on your shoulders. The gap between who you were in France and who you are now must have been tough. While he did scold me for being out so late, he never once negated my character, my way of life, or the feelings I had nowhere to channel. I get not wanting to go to school. But you really should graduate from high school. You, my friend, are meant to soar globally. Don't get disappointed by the limited world of American middle school. Explore the broader world. Meet many people. Build connections. One day, you might think back and be glad you went to school properly. How about evening classes? There, you wouldn't stand out. I'm truly grateful to him for introducing me to a night school at that time. 1 month after the interview incident, despite some hiccups, I ended up working at this bank as planned. The training is tough, but the senior folks around me are already really supportive and have been a big help. Amidst all this, there came a day when the training was nearing its end. I came across some data and found myself scratching my head. There was a series of numbers I hadn't seen before. Feeling suspicious, I consulted with a colleague. He, too, was unfamiliar with it. He quickly spoke to our boss, and I also sought advice from Thompson. Upon further investigation, it turned out that the data was a record of unauthorized withdrawals. In other words, embezzlement records. Surprisingly, the perpetrator was caught quite easily. It was Mitchell. After the whole interview fiasco, he had been demoted from his HR position to a regular desk job. Perhaps he couldn't stand having to follow younger employees whom he always looked down upon. Rather than buckling down and working hard, he was cold-heartedly cheating the elderly and robbing them of their savings. He also lied about collecting insurance premiums to scam money and colluded with subcontractors to inflate expenses and embezzle. He'd been involved in multiple sneaky and despicable crimes. Under Thompson's guidance, when we looked deeper, more and more of Mitchell's crimes came to light. The stolen amount was substantial. Mitchell was soon arrested by Thompson's cop friend, William. Given the number of victims, the news covered the story, which tainted the bank's reputation. Seeing Thompson apologize on TV was painful. But he said to me, "Thanks to you, we could resolve this before it got any worse. I really appreciate it." Moreover, people around me often remarked on how observant I was, and I was grateful to find myself given more responsibilities. The day the issue with Mitchell was finally resolved, I was at the bar with Thompson and William. They said it was a belated celebration for starting my job. I had known William for some time too, and the three of us chatted away. "I'd love to have a drink with you someday," I said. "What's gotten into you all of a sudden?" "Had too much to drink." "I'm not drunk yet. Don't treat me like an old man." "You say that, but you're over 70, right? You're definitely an old-timer." "Shut it. Right from our first meeting, you called me an old man." "Well, you already seemed old back then." "I might have been old, but back in the day, I was what they called a silver fox." "Ha. Self-proclaimed Silver Fox Thompson. Ha." Maybe drunk, Thompson fell asleep right there. As he muttered my name in his sleep with a hint of resentment, William started talking softly. Turns out, Thompson had a rough past, rougher than mine. He had lost a younger colleague in a tragic accident. After that accident, he started doing nighttime patrols, vowing to protect kids so something like that would never happen again. Is that so? He wanted to ensure young folks didn't get into trouble. Whenever he saw kids on the streets, he'd approach them. Sometimes they'd run, and sometimes he'd get beaten up like they were mugging an old man. That neighborhood was filled with such rough folks, so seeing someone like me, who talked back but wouldn't lay a hand on him, was rare. He always had a soft spot for you. Now it's your turn to give back. I planned to, without being told. Responding to him like that, I found myself nodding a few times in my head. I see. I was spotted on those night strolls and was being watched over to ensure I didn't get into any trouble, huh? Back then, everyone seemed like an enemy, and I hadn't realized his efforts. It's a bitter pill, but I know where I am today. Thompson, thank you. I'll push even harder. Saying my thanks to him, I felt like he smiled even in his sleep. I'll return the favor you did for me, so please, live a long life, Thompson. Henry Gibson is my name. My age is 55. I was relegated to the sidelines at my big bank job. I was in a bar that day for the new branch manager's welcome party from another branch. I drank by myself, apart from everyone else. Then I was approached by Ryan, the new branch manager. "Do you realize you're dead weight?" The new branch manager abruptly confronted me with these remarks. He appeared to be inebriated. "Dead weight? Yes, you're holding our branch back. Sorry. I'm not very good at my job, as the new branch manager stated. My sales performance consistently falls short of the quota. I couldn't really complain about criticism in light of that. You believe that saying, "I'm sorry," will suffice. Is that it? It's because you believe that to be sufficient. You lack awareness and are not competent at your profession. You are aware of your burden, aren't you? If so, you ought to be doing more, don't you? More and more, I found myself cornered. The new branch manager was always scolding us and acting in a controlling manner. I was aware of his personality, but I had no idea that drinking had made him this much worse. In addition, he is younger than me, even though he is my employer. I thought it was unjust to get thus much criticism, but I was unable to respond to a superior. I apologize. From now on, I'll try to get better results, I remarked. However, the new branch manager isn't the kind to overlook problems based solely on such remarks. Make a greater effort. Even so, what does that mean? That means you haven't tried yet. No, that's not what I meant. That isn't rational. How are you going to get results if there is no option to try harder? Don't just say things without thinking. The new branch manager's temper was rising. Although they pretended not to notice, the other staff members knew something was going on. They would be in danger, of course, if they took my side. I'll do my best not to be a burden to everyone. So, what does it mean to strive your hardest? That even a child can say, "Tell me in detail." In particular, "Yes, I will make an effort to see more clients." What? You're implying that up until now, you haven't tried to increase the number of customers you see. I have been trying. But then that's pointless. Doing the same thing and expecting different results. Use your brain, old fool. The branch manager's outburst made everyone else hold their breath. Silence fell, and all eyes were on me. What the new branch manager was saying wasn't wrong. I admit there are parts where I'm at fault. But still, the verbal abuse was too much. Being scolded is one thing, but being called an old fool is another. I was starting to get angry. "Hey, don't you think that's a bit too harsh?" I said to the new branch manager. "Huh? I mean, there's a line between what you can and can't say, right? Don't mess with me. Who do you think you are?" The new branch manager raised his voice so it echoed throughout the bar. "For you to talk back? It's your fault for not delivering results. You're just a regular employee at your age. I'm younger than you and already a branch manager. That difference in position says it all. You're unnecessary to the bank. A burden like you shouldn't be talking back. But I've been trying in my own way. That doesn't matter. Tried? Don't make me laugh, idiot. Then show some results. This isn't school. How long are you going to act like a student at your age? Only children are praised for trying. Results are everything. I don't care about your useless effort." Faced with such harsh words, I was silenced. What the new branch manager said was incredibly harsh. It wasn't entirely wrong. I do have my moments of being naive, that's for sure. Then, the new branch manager made an unexpected statement. "That's enough. We don't need a banker like you. A useless old fogey like you is fired as of today." Fired. I was speechless at the unexpected declaration. Of course, can't do the job, defies superiors, and has no will to try. Not firing someone like that would be the real surprise. Wait a minute, please. This is all happening too fast. What's so sudden about it? Haven't you been failing to deliver results all this time? If anything, I've been patient. But it's your fault for toying with me. Got it? Please, wait. I have a family to support. Shut up, you old fart. While saying that, the new branch manager splashed his beer on me. I couldn't help but scream and fell backward. I don't care about your family. A trash family is just a bunch of trash people. Why should our bank feed such trash? If it were just me being insulted, I could understand. But calling my family trash was going too far. Yet, for the sake of my livelihood, I couldn't fight back. I was frustrated beyond words. Please, Ryan, reconsider. I begged for his forgiveness. But no matter how much I pleaded, the manager's mind was unchanged. If you come to the bank, I'll sue you for trespassing. In the end, that's what the manager said to me, and all I could do was watch his back as he left, meaning I was indeed fired from the bank. The next day, I immediately started looking for a job. Finding a new job at 55 was going to be tough, but after explaining my situation to a friend, miraculously, I got a job at my friend's company. That gave me some peace of mind. I decided to work at my friend's company, but 5 days after the drinking party, things took a sudden turn. Come over right now. I got a call from Ryan saying just that. A call from the branch manager who hadn't contacted me at all for 5 days. He seemed to be in a hurry, said just that, and hung up. Maybe it's something about the resignation process, I thought, and headed to the bank. Upon arrival, I was told by other employees that the branch manager was in the special room, so I went there. Opening the door and looking around, I saw Ryan and another person, an elderly man. Daniel. The person there was Daniel, one of the customers I was in charge of. It's been a while. Yes, it has been a while. And then, Henry, please take a seat over there for now, the branch manager said to me with an unusually respectful demeanor. Despite the recent verbal abuse, I was completely confused but took a seat on the sofa anyway. So, what exactly is going on here? I asked. Ryan started to speak. You know about Daniel, right? He is a major customer for our bank, a very important customer. That was true. Daniel's account held an incredible sum of $84 million. Daniel was the chairman of a major corporation. To our bank, he was undeniably a customer we wouldn't want to lose. But Daniel has expressed a desire to close his account. I gasped in surprise. If Daniel were to close his account, it would be a major incident for the bank. It wouldn't bankrupt us, but it would be a significant blow. If some disrespectful action of ours was the cause for the account closure, the responsible employee would be out of a job in an instant. Daniel was that significant. I see. It's a major incident for the bank, but I'm no longer an employee here. So while I was initially surprised, I was relatively unfazed. What I was more curious about was why I was called here. I understand that's a serious issue, but I'm not related to this anymore. Why was I called here today? I asked. Ryan looked uncomfortable. Was there something difficult he had to say? Then, well, Daniel started to speak, and then he dropped a bombshell. The reason I wanted to close my account is because you are no longer here. I was momentarily unable to comprehend the meaning of his words. Huh. I let out such a disrespectful response to Daniel. And then, what? When I finally understood the meaning, I couldn't help but raise my voice. Daniel was considering closing his account because I had been fired. I couldn't understand why Daniel would take such action. So you're closing your account because I got fired? That's right. Because you're not here. That's what I've been saying. Why? Why would you do that? Daniel smiled warmly. The only reason I kept my account with this bank was because you were here. There's no other reason. So if you're not here, I'll close the account. It's only logical. Even with that explanation, I couldn't grasp it. Sure, when I was at the bank, I regularly visited Daniel's home and we chatted. But to say it myself, my talks weren't particularly interesting. I couldn't say anything clever or funny. I just listened to him. That's why I was always barely meeting my quotas. Being favored by Daniel to this extent was beyond surprising. And then, so here's the thing, Ryan began to speak. We had this meeting in hopes of convincing Daniel to reconsider closing his account, but he insisted on closing it. However, after repeatedly pleading, Daniel offered one condition. A condition? Yes. The condition was that you come back to work for us and become Daniel's personal banker again. Hearing that, everything clicked. If I come back, Daniel won't cancel his account. In other words, Ryan is asking me to work at the bank again. Well, you won't find a better offer than this. After being fired, where else could you work, right? Plus, you're currently marked as aita, not officially fired. Your position is still there, so you can return to work anytime. Isn't that great? You should be thankful to Daniel. Ryan proceeded as if it was a given that I would return. But I had already decided to work at a friend's company. So, I never said I was coming back to the bank. Hearing my words, Ryan opened his eyes wide in surprise. Daniel, for some reason, burst into loud laughter. Wait, what are you saying? What do you mean? I said I'm not coming back. Don't joke around. If you don't come back, Daniel will cancel his account. Right. Right? What do you mean, right? Well, it's not really my concern anymore. After all, I was fired. Huh. Didn't you say your family would be in trouble if you got fired? I did say that. Then come back. You won't find another job. If you don't return, your family will starve. Actually, I've already found a new job. I'll be working in a friend's company. Hearing that, Ryan looked utterly baffled. A friend's company? Yes. What are you going to do at such a place? What do you mean? What will I do? I'll work there, of course. No, that's not what I mean. The bank is more stable and pays better. It's obvious staying at the bank is better for you. The salary I was offered is about the same, so no worries there. And you say the bank is more stable, but I was fired from this stable bank just because of a word from the branch manager. Doesn't sound stable to me. That's, Ryan muttered, seemingly at a loss for words. And then, Henry. Daniel began to speak. Were you fired for making some big mistake? Mistake? Yes. I heard from this branch manager my firing was due to not being good enough at my job. Still, I hadn't made any big mistake. Though it could be said my daily performance was full of mistakes considering my lack of skills. It's a bit different from the real fact. Mistakes. Well, I always make them, but nothing big. I heard about a mispayment causing a huge loss to the bank. No, that never happened. Based on my reaction, Ryan hesitantly spoke up. I'm sorry. I may have exaggerated the story a bit. Exaggerated. Yes. When you said you would close your account unless Henry returned Daniel, I tried to explain why he was fired by overemphasizing the reasons. That's not just an exaggeration. That's a complete lie. You just thought if you made Henry out to be the bad guy, I wouldn't close my account, didn't you? Daniel's accusation was likely correct. Indeed, Ryan was known for telling such lies. I wouldn't say it's a lie, but well, it's something like that. Then Daniel let out a heavy sigh. His displeasure was evident. And then, do you understand why I'm saying I'll close my account? Daniel asked. Ryan nodded. Yes, of course. It's because Henry is no longer here, right? That's the biggest reason, but not the only one. I've thought about closing my account because the higher-ups in this bank are the worst. An employee from my company once came here and received the worst treatment. As soon as they knew he didn't have much savings, they looked down on him and treated him poorly. The previous branch manager did the same, only sucking up to me. Just imagining such lowly staff coming to me stresses me out. That's why I thought about closing the account after Henry was fired. In other words, it's because of people like you, Ryan, that I'm closing my account, Daniel said emphatically. Ryan looked down, unable to argue, and muttered a small, sorry. Then, is our discussion over? Daniel said, trying to end the conversation. Wait, please. Ryan said, stopping Daniel. I'll somehow convince Henry. Just give me a little more time. It seemed Ryan was desperate to keep me. Well, that's understandable. If Daniel closed his account, Ryan would not get off scot-free. He would have to take responsibility, possibly be transferred to a remote location, or, in the worst case, be fired. At the very least, his chances for promotion would be gone forever. In other words, the only way for Ryan to survive at the bank was to keep me. Henry. Ryan asked me sweetly. Hey, you understand, right? Yes? Come on, you know what I mean, right? Hey, what exactly? So, what I'm saying is, I'd really like you to stay at the bank. That's what I'm thinking, you know. Pop. It's not like it's a bad thing, you know. If you stay, Henry, you'll be a hero. You'll be the hero who kept Daniel's contract. A hero. A hero. Of course, we'll consider a position for you. I promise to give you a good position within my power. Then, you'll get a better salary than going to your friend's company, right? If you stay at the bank, it's beneficial for the bank, for me, and for you too. You understand what the smart choice is, right? So, won't you come back to the bank? I refuse. What? Ryan let out an absurdly surprised voice. Why? Well, I was just a burden here. You said so yourself when you fired me, remember. Since I'm just causing trouble for everyone, as you said, I think it's better if I'm not here. No. That's not true. Everyone's waiting for you to come back. Of course, I've missed you terribly. I regret saying those things back then. Even if Daniel hadn't mentioned canceling his account, I intended to ask you to come back. I was just drunk at the time and said it in the heat of the moment. First of all, you can't fire an employee in such a setting. At a drinking party. There was no official dismissal. What happened that day was like a joke. So, come back. I dislike that. Ryan's face looked like he was about to cry at my words. But that's all lies, right? Just because you were drunk? You really wanted me to come back? It's all lies, isn't it? You can count on me. Then why didn't you call me the day after the drinking party? You left me alone until Daniel came forward with his cancellation. That means you were just going to let me be a wall and then fire me, right? Well, I was just busy. Do you think I'm going to believe that? At that, Ryan fell silent. So that's how it is. I said that and was about to leave when it happened. Henry, please. Ryan cried out in a voice that almost turned into a scream, clinging to my legs. Hey, what are you doing? I went too far last time. I'm really sorry. Please forgive me. I apologize for everything. Please reconsider. No, I don't want to work under you anymore. Then come back and don't listen to me. You can do whatever you want. You can slack off, even sleep on the job. I'll turn a blind eye to everything. Just come back. If I did that, I'd be disliked by the other employees and feel uncomfortable. Then I'll give you money. Please. No, I can't accept such money. Then Ryan let go of my leg, grabbed my hand, and pleaded with me. Please, I'm begging you. Come back to the bank. I let out a heavy sigh. After everything he had said at the bar, now that the situation had changed, his attitude flipped. I somehow understood why Daniel didn't want to continue his contract with this bank. Please stop. You're just too selfish. You've always treated your subordinates with a high-handed attitude, never considering their feelings. You might think it's okay because you're the boss, but it's not. A boss like that will eventually be betrayed by their subordinates sooner or later. You deserve to be condemned. It just so happens that today is that day. Even if things somehow work out today, you will inevitably face divine retribution. It's all because of your usual attitude. Trying to apologize now and asking for forgiveness is too convenient. If you really want to reflect on your behavior, then accept this divine punishment. That's the best way to reflect. As I spoke, Ryan started to tear up. I thought you might actually be reflecting, but then, my career, it's all going to waste. He was muttering something like that. It seemed he wasn't really reflecting after all. Then, Daniel, please convince Henry. Ryan, still not ready to give up, sought Daniel's help. But, I'm rather leaning towards canceling my account, Daniel replied. That can't be. Besides, I can change Henry's life if I want. If he's decided to leave the bank, I want to respect that decision. Respect? What do you mean by that? He's totally incapable of working anywhere else. I couldn't entirely deny that. But Henry will be fine. He just wasn't suited for the bank, Daniel reassured. Then he looked at me. Well, if it doesn't work out, you can come work at my company. Really? Yes, really. It's tough at my company too, but if you can handle that. Thank you so much. An unexpected outcome. Who would have thought that after being fired from the bank, I'd find not just one, but 2 job opportunities. Life is unpredictable. Daniel then stood up. Well, it's gotten late today, so we'll handle the formalities another day. I have another appointment, so I'll be leaving now. Hearing that, I also stood up. I'll be leaving too. Daniel, Henry, please reconsider. I beg you. Ryan was still trying to convince us right up until we were about to leave the bank, but we ignored him and left. I'm saying I'm sorry. Ryan's voice, crying out in desperation, could be heard from behind. But Daniel and I didn't look back. We left the bank. As we were about to part ways outside, Daniel offered, "Want a ride?" Having things I wanted to discuss, I replied, "Would that be okay?" and got into Daniel's car. After a while, I asked, "Why did you go above and beyond to support me like that?" Daniel had said he would close his account if I left, but I hadn't done anything special for Daniel, just visited his home occasionally to chat. Then, my family, they all died in an accident. Daniel began his story. Apparently, his son and wife had died in an accident. With his parents also gone, he was completely alone. Talking with you was my pleasure. While other bank employees were flattering Daniel, pushing investments, I was the one who listened without flattery. And once he turned down the investment talk, I never brought it up again. Being able to have normal conversations was something Daniel treasured. I see, I murmured. While just listening without pushing sales might not seem fitting for a bank employee, if it was a solace for Daniel, then I was glad to have done so. Then, let me visit your home again. This time, not as a bank employee, but as a friend. Thank you, Daniel said tearfully. Then he drove me home, and I returned to my house. Keith Arnold is my name. One of the most well-known gangs in the Kanto area is the Arnold Gang, of which I am the leader. I used to make quite a name for myself when I was younger, but now that I'm 65, I believe I've calmed down a little. I am currently living alone after losing my wife at a young age. Although I've learned to appreciate life on my own terms, I still get lonely sometimes. I was a child once too, someone like this. It's my high school reunion today. It's anticipated to be a somewhat solemn event because several of the classmates have passed away. The evening invites everyone to bring a companion to make things more lively. I'll be there alone, of course, but most others will have a companion. In a way, it's dynamic. Everyone sits down and begins to nibble on the food that is spread out in front of them while sharing bottles of beer on the tables. Then I sensed someone looking at me. I noticed an unexpectedly attractive woman for her age when I turned to face the person who was staring at me. Is she a classmate? No, someone that beautiful couldn't have existed in those days. She gave me a smile and gave me a small nod as I thought about it. I nodded back, but I was still unable to remember her identity. After a short while, she came over to me with a man who looked familiar. Lucas was the one. Since we were young, Lucas has always tried to project a rough exterior. He certainly belonged to a group of criminals and even joined a motorcycle gang, but regardless of how long he was a member of those groups, he never rose to the position of executive, much less leader. The fact that Lucas, of all persons, had a beauty like her by his side astounded me. Lucas said, "Hey, Keith," in a warm voice. "Hi, Lucas. A long time has passed. No partner with you." "What?" "Yeah, my wife passed away a long time ago." "I see. That's tough." "Yeah, it gets lonely sometimes, but it can't be helped." "Well, I was able to wed a woman with this level of beauty. Nobody is as beautiful as her, even in a location like this, isn't she?" "That's accurate. She really is beautiful." "Catherine is my pride and joy." Lucas grinned joyously. Catherine then gave him a gentle prod in the side. "Oh, I see. She requests that I present you." "Oh, me? Actually, we did make eye contact earlier, didn't we?" "Yes. I pondered whether you might be the leader of the Arnold gang when I learned that your name was Keith." "Well, yes, that's me." "I believe so. The leader of the Turner gang is my father's daughter. We appreciate your unwavering concern for us." "The Turner gang, huh? I also appreciate what you've done. The Turner gang isn't actually that large. But I get along well with the leader of the Turner gang, and my successor appears to be friendly with him as well. Keith, my dad talks about you a lot. He claims that you are a man of great strength, manners, and integrity." That's a bit too much praise. As Lucas's wife sang my praises, I felt a bit flustered and thought this was rather troublesome. Meanwhile, Lucas looked noticeably unhappy. "What's this? So you became the head of the Arnold gang, huh? But in the end, you've retired, right?" "Well, yeah." "Retired, huh? Does that mean you've quit the gang life too?" "Yeah. At 65, I can't exactly keep doing this forever. What about you, Lucas? Are you still in the game?" "Of course. There's no retirement age for a gang." "Well, you're not wrong about that. So, are you set to inherit the leadership of the Turner gang?" "Well, that's probably true, but no, that's not the case." To my surprise, Catherine flatly denied it. Normally, one would assume that a son-in-law would naturally inherit the position, but she outright dismissed the idea. "Hey, what the hell?" Lucas blurted out. "Excuse me," she said. "The Turner gang has a capable underboss, and he will surely take over the leadership." "Oh, I see," I replied. "Excuse me for a moment, honey. I'll just step out to the restroom," she said. Sure," Lucas responded, a little flustered. It seemed like she thought she might have said something she shouldn't have and headed off to the restroom. That left just Lucas and me, but we didn't have much to talk about. After all, I hardly had any real connection with Lucas, no shared memories, no common topics to reminisce about. So I steered the conversation toward Catherine. She really is a beautiful woman, full of life, too. Do you two plan on traveling together in the future? Nah, I'm still active in the game. I don't have time for that. Unlike you, who's living an easy life. Well, I wouldn't say it's all that easy, but I do have plenty of free time. Must be nice to live like that, he said, once again with a displeased look on his face. Hey, you're not thinking of messing with Catherine, are you? Out of nowhere, he came out with this outrageous accusation. I looked at Lucas's face and realized he wasn't joking. What the hell are you talking about? I'm serious. Earlier, you were exchanging looks with her, weren't you? We just happened to make eye contact, that's all. She's a beauty. I get why you'd want to look, but remember, she's my wife. Yeah, I get it. For someone who gets it, you sure seemed to enjoy chatting with her earlier. It was just small talk. She's the daughter of Turner Gang's leader, so of course, she greeted me properly. Or maybe you had ulterior motives for talking to her. Are you serious right now? Do you even hear it yourself? Aren't you tired of coming up with this nonsense? I'm not tired at all. Listen, she's way out of your league. I never said I wanted her. A woman like her would never end up with someone as low-ranking as you. Didn't you hear me earlier? I told you I'm the head of the Arnold gang. What part of that screams low-ranking to you? Shut up. I've hated you since we were kids, and now you're a boss. Give me a break. How can I accept that? I'm still active, but you're living the high life. How does that even make sense? That's not for me to answer. I've worked hard to get where I am. Worked hard? You were just lucky to be the son of the previous leader of the Arnold gang. That's why you became the boss, isn't it? Meanwhile, no matter how hard I work, I can't even make it to the executive level. Wait, are you telling me you're still not an executive at your age? You're still just a grunt. Shut up. I don't need to hear that from you, you lowly grunt. Lowly grunt? You must be joking. Don't try to drag me down just because you're stuck at the bottom. I never wanted to be an executive anyway. You seemed pretty bitter about it just now. You're contradicting yourself. Are you all right? Shut up. My wife is the daughter of Turner Gang's leader. That makes me way better than someone like you. The more you talk, the more pathetic you sound. Face it, at your age, you're not climbing any higher. Why not settle for mentoring the younger guys? It'd make your life easier. Shut up. I don't need advice from you. Fine, suit yourself. I was just trying to help. Honestly, your wife must be an incredible woman to stick with someone like you. She's a gem. That's right. She's my pride and joy. You'd never land someone like her, so don't even dream about it. Sure. I know you're envious, but honestly, I feel sorry for her. Being stuck with you. She could have married someone far better. Even Mr. Turner must feel frustrated seeing her with you. What do you mean, frustrated? She's with me because she wants to be. No one else deserves her but me. What a lot of confidence you've got. Where does it even come from? I'm not interested in becoming some kind of leader or anything. I'm all about staying on the front lines my whole life. That's the kind of life I live, and that's exactly what she's fallen for. It was obvious he invited me, yet his pride wouldn't let him admit it. Is that so? Well, your logic is all over the place. But if that's what works for you, who am I to judge? I don't really care how others choose to live their lives. Of course, you don't. After all, you're spending your twilight years alone, aren't you? What a pitiful old man you are. Yeah, you're not wrong. Not having a wife does get lonely sometimes. If you're that lonely, why don't you get remarried? Not that you'd ever find someone as good as my wife, no matter how hard you try. It seemed Lucas's entire sense of self-worth was wrapped up in his wife. Without her, he probably wouldn't have anything to brag about. I worked hard to win her over, you know. No ordinary guy could ever dream of getting a woman like her. Is that so? By now, I had lost interest in the conversation entirely. I wanted to leave this nonsense behind. And to make matters worse, Lucas wouldn't let anyone else approach me. Whenever a classmate tried to talk to me, he glared at them until they backed off. I couldn't understand why he was so fixated on me. I wish she'd hurry up and come back, I thought. It's pathetic that he can't even talk to anyone else without her around. No wonder everyone avoids him with those glares. Hey, I'm talking to you, and you're not even listening. Huh? Were you saying something? Sorry, I was thinking about something else. What? Thinking about my wife, aren't you? What? That's it, isn't it? You were thinking about my wife. Wife? You bastard. I wasn't thinking about her at all. I was lost in my own thoughts. Yeah, right. You've got nothing else to think about, do you? You're not even working anymore. Come on, even I have things to think about. Don't be so quick to dismiss me. Yeah, sure. The only thing you've ever thought about is women. Back in the day, you always stole the girls I was seeing. Did that really happen? Of course it did. You're that kind of guy. I tilted my head in confusion. We hardly interacted when we were kids, so I had no idea who he had been dating back then. And yet, he claimed I stole someone from him. Although, thinking back, there was a time I ended up dating a girl who turned out to have been involved with Lucas. But that wouldn't count as stealing, would it? Look, I can't speak to stuff from when we were kids. I never intentionally took any girl from you. If I dated someone who turned out to have been with you, I didn't know at the time. That's all there is to it. So you admit you took her from me, he shouted. How do you figure that? Are you sure you're not losing it? Maybe a bit of dementia. Or is it just your imagination running wild? It's neither. You're just mocking me. I'm not mocking you. I'm worried about you. We're both 65 now. You think you're fine, but sometimes things start breaking down without you realizing it. I'm still active. Nothing's breaking down on me. Fine. Have it your way. There's no reasoning with you. Just go back to your table. What did you say? You're trying to send me back so you can hit on my wife, aren't you? Don't be ridiculous. Give it a rest, will you? Who are you calling ridiculous, you bastard? I won't forgive this. With that, Lucas threw a punch at my face. Caught off guard, I couldn't dodge, and the blow knocked me down. Before I could recover, Lucas straddled me and started raining punches on my face. Never in my life did I think I'd be pinned down and beaten like this at my age. The classmates around us screamed in shock and panic. This reunion was completely ruined. Stop it, Lucas. Shut up. You're the one I can never forgive. As Lucas struck me again, Catherine returned, letting out a horrified scream. What are you doing? Stop it. Desperately shouting for him to stop, she pulled at Lucas's clothes to get him off me. By the time he finally got off, I had a nosebleed. I grabbed a napkin from the table and wiped it away. Catherine, clearly panicked, quickly called a staff member to bring a towel and handed it to me. But the bleeding wouldn't stop. She trembled, tears streaming down her face as she apologized profusely. I'm so sorry. My husband has done something truly terrible. Please forgive us. Why are you apologizing? I'm not the one at fault here. And besides, I'm your husband. So why the hell are you crying over him getting a nosebleed? I'm really sorry. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. It's just been a while since I've been hit like that, so I was a bit surprised. You need to apologize too. I don't need to apologize for anything. Why the hell are you apologizing so much to him? It's ridiculous. Don't tell me you're falling for this guy. Are you insane? Do you even realize who you're talking about? He's the head of the Arnold gang. Do you understand what kind of trouble you've caused? I don't care about that. Arnold gang or not, he's just a classmate to me. I've got no reason to be scared of him. Think about the position you're in. I'm so sorry. Are you hurt anywhere else? You really took a beating. Should I call an ambulance? Ma'am, you're exaggerating. I'm really fine. But enough, Catherine. He said he's fine, so just leave it alone. I can't just leave it alone. Why the hell not? I'm your husband, and I'm telling you to drop it. You don't need to worry about someone like him. Clearly agitated, Lucas was yelling, trying to drag Catherine away from me. However, she completely ignored him. Instead, she helped me up and tried to seat me in a chair, taking care of me attentively. Seeing this, Lucas grew even more furious. Knock it off already. I'm your husband. Get over here. With that, Lucas grabbed her arm and pulled her toward him. That's when it happened. Catherine slapped him across the cheek. You're the one who needs to knock it off. Do you even realize what you've done? Ouch. Why are you so angry? Why wouldn't I be? You lash out and hit anyone for no reason. When are you going to outgrow this stupid fighting habit? You're an embarrassment at your age. No wonder you've never been promoted to an executive position. What did you say? I don't care about becoming an executive. I've decided to stay active for life. Not even you can criticize the way I live. Staying active for life sounds cool, but it's just because no one will promote you. After the way you act, it's no surprise you're not an executive. What? I've had enough. I can't stay married to someone as foolish as you. I want a divorce. What? Why are you talking about divorce? I've told you before, you're too stupid to stay with. Starting a fight at a reunion? That's unheard of. Don't you care about how much trouble you've caused for everyone else? That's none of my business. That's exactly why I'm divorcing you. Marrying you was a mistake. What the hell are you saying? You. Lucas, overcome with rage, raised his hand to strike Catherine. She shrank back, unable to move, tightly closing her eyes. I stepped in to protect her, placing myself between them and grabbing Lucas's descending arm. Ouch. What the hell are you doing? That's my line. Raising your hand against a woman? You're a disgrace to the gang. Huh. I knew it. You're into my wife, aren't you? I can't take it anymore. I've put up with everything you've done until now, but I'm done. What? The reason you wanted to marry me, did you think I didn't know? You thought that by marrying a boss's daughter, you become an executive, maybe even the underboss, and eventually take his seat. But my father doesn't make just anyone an executive. Not even his son-in-law. He makes decisions based on what's best for the group. Yet, because you've never been promoted, you blame everyone else. And on top of that, you act out like this, causing trouble everywhere. Which is exactly why my father doesn't acknowledge you. And do you think I haven't thought about divorce before? Knowing about your women, but staying quiet, because that's part of a gang's life. Enduring it all. Yet, you don't even understand the hardship I've endured. And now, you go and do something as stupid as this. You. Shut up. What do you mean, stupid? Hitting the Arnold gang's leader? That's nothing but pure stupidity. If Mr. Arnold gets angry, he could crush our gang in an instant. Don't you even realize that? No matter how close you are as old classmates, this is way out of line. It's proof you're not thinking about our gang at all. Shut up. Shut up. Stop screaming like that. You're the one making all the noise. Who cares if he's the head of the Arnold gang? Sure, to you, he's some big deal, but to me, he's just a classmate. Are you seriously 65 years old and still don't get how the world works? Don't you dare talk back to me. I said this is fine, and that's that. She glared at Lucas with eyes full of anger. Lucas, though just as angry, seemed to shrink under the intensity of her fury. Still, if left alone, there was no guarantee Lucas wouldn't lash out again. That would ruin the reunion for everyone else. I pulled out my phone and called one of my executives who was waiting outside the venue, instructing him to come in immediately. Moments later, the doors opened, and two men entered. Mr. Arnold, what can we do for you? Catherine, you said you're serious about divorcing him. If that's the case, I'll deal with this without holding back. Yes, I'm serious. I've had enough of him. All right, I understand. Take that man to the Turner gang. Yes, sir. The two men grabbed Lucas by the arms and began escorting him out of the venue. Of course, Lucas didn't go quietly. He shouted and struggled the entire way. Damn it. What are you doing? Let me go. Let me go, damn it. Do you even know who I am? I'm Lucas from the Turner gang. Oh, how embarrassing. Even shouting his name, no one knows who he is. Mr. Arnold, I truly apologize for what he's done. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But, I'm so sorry to make such a bold request, but please, I beg you, don't destroy our gang. Don't worry, I won't do that. If you're still concerned, why don't you come along? Staying here doesn't make much sense as you're not a classmate, and you likely wouldn't fit in with the conversations anyway. Besides, after all that, the others are probably feeling uncomfortable. Catherine bowed deeply and said, I apologize for all the trouble I've caused. I'll be taking my leave now. With that polite farewell, she exited the venue. She's far too good for someone like Lucas. When we arrived at the Turner Gang office, my men threw Lucas in front of the Turner Gang leader. The leader, surprised by the sudden appearance of me, my executives, and Lucas, was even more shocked to see his daughter there as well. What? What on earth happened here? Father, Catherine approached the Turner Gang leader. Catherine, what's going on? Wasn't today Lucas's class reunion? Yes, it was, but we met Mr. Arnold there. Which means Lucas and Mr. Arnold are old classmates. Yes, but Lucas hit Mr. Arnold. Hit him. Why on earth would he do that? I don't really know. I was in the restroom when it happened. I'm so sorry. Lucas, why would you hit him? Because he was making eyes at Catherine. Making eyes? Mr. Arnold, is that true? Of course not. Maybe in my younger days, but at this age, I don't have the energy to be looking at another man's wife like that. You don't know that. Look at her. She's such a beautiful woman. There's no way any man could just sit back and not make a move. No, not even then. I can't imagine Mr. Arnold doing such a thing, regardless of age. It's just not in his nature. How can you be so sure? He's always been the kind of guy to steal my women. What? I think there's been a misunderstanding. Back when we were kids, I dated someone who turned out to have been Lucas's ex-girlfriend. Ah, I see. That kind of thing happens. Yeah, but no matter how much I explain, he just doesn't get it. Unbelievable. And in the end, he accused me of making eyes at her and then hit me. What a ridiculous thing. Lucas, you knew this man is Mr. Arnold, and you still did something like that. Mr. Arnold or not, that doesn't matter to me. He's just an old friend from when we were kids. A friend? That's right. What's with that smug look, Mr. Arnold? Is that the kind of relationship you have with Lucas? Not at all. We didn't even interact as kids. I have no idea why he's so convinced we're close. See, Lucas, it's all in your head. That's not true. Regardless, hitting Mr. Arnold is unacceptable. It's not a big deal, Father. One more thing. I've decided to get a divorce. What? Really? Yes, I'm completely fed up. I've decided to end this marriage. I see. Well, Mr. Turner, I don't want a divorce. Why do I have to separate from her? We've been together for so many years, and now we're entering old age. I refuse to let Catherine go. But Lucas, Catherine wants a divorce. I've also thought for a long time that you two aren't well matched. What do you mean? What do I mean? When she said she wanted to marry you, I was against it, but because she insisted, I allowed it. Still, as a son-in-law, you've never had the qualities of a leader. No matter how much I wanted to help, there was nothing I could do. Catherine, on the other hand, has more of a leader's demeanor. That's ridiculous. So I always wondered when you two would break up. At over 60, she finally made this decision, but it's better late than never. Now I can rest easy when my time comes. That's ridiculous. I won't separate from Catherine. I'll never let her go. I don't want to stay with a man who raises his hand against women. A real man would endure, no matter what is said to him. And as a son-in-law, you should know your place and not start fights without thinking. How can I feel safe with you around? What? Is that what happened? Yes. When Mr. Arnold had a nosebleed, I was helping him, and Lucas told me it wasn't necessary and pulled my arm. When I declared I wanted a divorce, he tried to hit me. That's when Mr. Arnold stepped in and protected me. I see. Mr. Arnold, Thank you so much. Don't mention it. I can't stand men who raise their hands against women. Women should be cherished. I see. In that case, this divorce is settled. With that, Mr. Turner pulled a divorce petition from his drawer. Here, sign this. What? Why do you already have this? Because I've been waiting for the day you and Catherine would separate. I thought having it ready might make it happen, and here we are. This can't be. Go ahead and sign. No matter how much you resist, it won't change anything. Damn it. Lucas, with a frustrated look, signed the petition and tossed the pen aside. Seeing this, Mr. Turner happily handed the document to Catherine. She took the pen and signed her name. Now we're strangers. Finally, I feel relieved. You have a mistress anyway, so this shouldn't be a problem for you. What? Now that the divorce is finalized, it's my turn to address things. With that, I sat down in a chair. Indeed. After what he's done, he won't get off scot-free. But you're not thinking of destroying the gang, are you? Don't worry. I'm not considering that. Thank you. Catherine requested it, after all. But Lucas hasn't said a single word. No apology, no concern for the gang. He's selfish through and through. Yes, that's right. There's no way someone like him could ever become an executive. Exactly. I'd think the same. Shut up. I'll do things my way. Is that so? Then I'll do things my way too. What? You punched Arnold's face. You understand this won't come cheap, right? So what? It's just a face, isn't it? What's the big deal? He may call himself a chairman, but he's just a retired old man. So what if I hit a retired geezer's face? Lucas, well, I guess you just don't understand the gravity of it. If that's the case, I'll make you understand. There's still plenty you don't know at your age, and learning new things can be enlightening, don't you think? Ha, don't mess with me. So, how do you intend to make amends? Make amends? Yeah, your life or your money. Which will it be? What? Life or money? It's all the same to me. Just pick one. Neither. Why should I put my life on the line just for punching your face? As for money, forget it. I should be charging you for dirtying my fist on your face. I see. You really are clueless. All right, make him feel some pain. Got it. At my signal, my men clenched their fists and punched Lucas square in the face. Blow after blow from the two men left Lucas's face red and swollen as he started begging for his life. Please stop. I'm sorry. I'm old. If I get hit like this, my bones will break. Broken bones don't heal easily at my age. Please, have mercy. If you want mercy, then decide how you'll make amends. Your life or your money. I'm not a patient man. Okay, I'll decide. Just stop. All right? Stop. Now, let's hear it. How will you settle this? Money. I'll pay with money. Good. How much? $10,000. $20,000. Lucas, you really crack me up. You think you can get away with hitting the chairman of Arnold Group for such a paltry sum. The scale is completely off. Scale? Yeah, the scale. $10,000 or $20,000 is for low-level guys like you. My face represents the gang. Paying that little wouldn't uphold the group's honor. $100,000? Still not enough. $200,000? $1 million. $1 million. A million? Yeah, $1 million. No way. What did you expect? You punched the chairman's face. Paying that much is only natural. But I don't have that kind of money. Catherine, help me. You could ask Mr. Turner, couldn't you? Did you forget? We're divorced now. I'm done cleaning up your messes. No way. So, what will it be? Are you paying or not? I can't pay. I don't have the money. then borrow it. Isn't that what loan sharks specializing in gang deals are for? Should I call one for you? They'll come right away if I make a call. Fine. Please do. All right, I'll call them. Catherine said this with a smile, then immediately contacted Samuel from Blue Dragon Finance. After a short while, a black sedan pulled up in front of the office, and a polite-looking man in his 60s stepped out. Thank you for waiting. Hey, Samuel. Mr. Arnold and Mr. Turner, it's been a while. Oh my, even your daughter is here. What a rare gathering. Certainly rare. Anyway, Samuel, could you lend Lucas $1 million? Pass that money along to Mr. Arnold. Of course, sir. While I process the transfer, please have him sign the loan agreement and the life insurance application. Samuel, where are you planning to send me? Lucas asked nervously. Well, for $1 million, a crab fishing boat would be ideal. But considering your age, this guy loves throwing punches. He even hit me earlier, I added. Is that so? Then I have just the place for him. A survival game arena. A real-life survival game, huh? Sounds perfect for him. He can fight to his heart's content. Precisely. Everyone around him will be enemies, and there's no way to escape. Good luck. Survive for 10 years, and you can pay back the principal. And how many years would it take to pay off the interest? Lucas muttered. Who knows? Let's find out. Now that the paperwork was signed, Lucas was taken away. Given his age, there was no chance he'd make it back alive. What a fool, I thought, chuckling to myself. After everything that had happened, I considered how Catherine must feel. Despite being prepared for divorce, parting with a husband of decades must be painful. Thinking of that, I decided to invite her for a meal. When I asked how she felt, her response surprised me. Do you think I feel sad seeing him taken away? Sad? Not at all. At his age, there's no way he'll survive the survival game. And honestly, I feel relieved. Otherwise, he'd have stalked me even after the divorce. So you really have no regrets? None at all. I know I must seem like a cold woman, but this was inevitable. He never worked, was selfish, and had a terrible habit with women. You have no idea how much I've suffered. The only reason I didn't divorce him sooner was fear that he'd harass me afterward. You could have asked Mr. Turner for help. I could have. But since I married against his wishes, I couldn't bring myself to ask for help when things got tough. She laughed brightly as she spoke, her joy at being free from Lucas unmistakable. Michael Johnson is my name. Being from a low-income household, I began working as soon as I graduated from high school because we were unable to pay for my college education. To be honest, my family was too impoverished to even entertain the idea of me attending college with my buddies and living the typical student life. At times, we were unable to pay our rent at all, and we had to transfer from one relative's home to another. In addition, I felt from an early age that I had to provide for my family because I was the oldest son. I therefore took up tasks like newspaper delivery and made my own purchases. I believe the neighbors gave me a somewhat odd look because no one else my age was doing the same, but I didn't give a damn. In fact, I couldn't have lived my life if I had been concerned about what other people thought. I therefore continued working notwithstanding the opinions of others. Since our family couldn't survive without my salary, my parents never informed me I could resign, even though they seemed bad about making me work so hard. Thanks for always working so hard for the family, Michael. You're really helpful. Since I was born into this family, I believe that this is my responsibility, so I'll give it my all even though none of my friends work as hard as I do. Additionally, don't worry too much about me because I genuinely enjoy my job. That makes me very delighted to hear, but it defeats the point if you overdo it and end up becoming sick. Therefore, try not to overwork oneself. I have a lot of energy because I'm still in high school. I'm all right. I'm merely getting up early to deliver newspapers while everyone else is getting ready for their sports groups in the morning. I hope you can ignore the hurtful things your neighbors say to you and move on. But please talk to me if something truly annoys you. There are definitely people who spread rumors or gossip, but they don't understand our situation, so I just act like I didn't hear a thing. Even though you're still in high school, you're putting in a lot of effort. Your current level of experience will undoubtedly benefit your career. Therefore, don't feel guilty and keep moving forward. Don't worry, I'll take care of that. I'll work at a business owned by a family friend once I graduate from high school and do everything in my power to make things easier for you, Mom. I spent my entire childhood considering how to make my mother's life simpler. I was making my own money, while my buddies were still in high school and receiving allowances from their parents. Of course, there were times when I wished I could get an allowance and enjoy after-school clubs, but I also felt like I was growing up, so I didn't mind too much. Thanks to my newspaper delivery jobs, I got to know a lot of adults, and some of them offered me jobs even though I was only a high school graduate. So, I didn't have any trouble finding employment. Normally, it would have been hard for someone with just a high school diploma to get a job, but because of the connections I made, I didn't struggle at all. While everyone else was talking about going to college, I went against the grain and started working. But once I got the job, I was happy to see that the employees treated me with kindness. My direct supervisor, Terry, was especially kind. If you ever need anything, just come to me. You were in high school not too long ago, so I'm sure there are things you don't understand. I'll answer anything you want to know. Thank you so much. There really is a lot I don't know, so I'd love to learn. But I'll work hard and aim to be the best in the company. With that attitude, I think your motivation is already the highest in the company. We hire people based on their skills, not their education, so there's no need to feel insecure about having a high school diploma. Yes, there's nothing I can do about my education, so I'll focus on delivering results and take pride in my work. I don't want to be the kind of person who uses my background as an excuse. Most people would make excuses in your position, but you've never done that. Still, you don't have to carry everything on your own. If you ever need to, come talk to me. I'm really glad you are my first boss, Terry. With you around, I feel like I can give it my all. I'll keep working hard until I'm recognized by everyone. That's how I started working as a high school graduate. But problems arose. These weren't just my problems. They affected the whole company. Just as Terry had said, our company had employees from all kinds of backgrounds. There were people like me with only a high school diploma, people from other countries, and even some who couldn't fit in at other jobs and had been freelancing for a while. Because of that, the company lacked stability and sales fluctuated a lot. I wanted to support the company, so I worked harder than anyone to get recognized. Of course, being a high school graduate, I struggled to perform as well as other employees at first and often felt frustrated. I even asked Terry for advice on how to get better results than others. It's been 6 months since I joined, but things aren't going the way I'd hoped. I've got more drive than anyone, but what should I do? Is it because I only graduated high school that I can't perform better? It's only been 6 months since you joined. There's no need to be so down. You might not be satisfied, but from my perspective, you're doing better than I expected. Does that mean you didn't expect much from me in the first place? Compared to the company average, I feel like my results are pretty low, so I thought I wasn't doing well. You might feel discouraged hearing this, but we didn't have high expectations compared to the college grads. But you've been closing that gap with your determination. So you really didn't expect much. I get that. It's something you can tell right when someone gets hired. But am I really closing the gap between me and the college grads? I wasn't going to tell you this because I didn't want it to go to your head, but the truth is, compared to the other new college hires, your results after 6 months are better. Really? I thought everyone who started at the same time as me was progressing faster. That's why you shouldn't be so discouraged. You're outperforming the college grads, so hold your head high and keep doing your best. Thank you so much. If it weren't for you, Terry, I would have been even more discouraged. I'll keep working hard to live up to the company's expectations. Honestly, if it hadn't been for Terry, I think I would have quit by then. I was having a hard time every day because of my lack of results. But because Terry always had my back, I managed to stick with it. Of course, the other employees were kind to me too, but Terry went above and beyond. Since my job helped ease my mom's burden, I felt like quitting wasn't an option. That's why I'm so grateful for the support I received, and I worked hard to give back, thanking everyone for their support. As a result, I outperformed the other employees and became one of the top sales performers in the company. When Terry found out, he praised me a lot. I saw the company's sales rankings for this month. You finally reached your goal of becoming the top performer. It's incredible that you've achieved this in just a few years since joining the company. I'm really happy that you're praising me, Terry. I've been through a lot of hard times, but I've been able to keep going because of you. I heard from the president that you wanted to go to college, but since you're the eldest son, you decided to work for your family and joined our company. That's really admirable. It feels strange hearing that from you, Terry. I've only been here a few years, but meeting you made me realize that joining this company was the right decision. To be honest, when you first joined, I was a bit worried since it had been a long time since we hired a high school graduate. But you've proven me wrong in the best way. I'm looking forward to working with you even more. So you really did have those concerns. Even so, you've always supported me, and I really appreciate it. I'll keep working hard to repay that kindness. The thing that makes me happiest is seeing you succeed, Michael. But if you ever have any concerns, don't hesitate to come to me like you always have. You're still my team member, so count on me. Thank you so much. I trust you more than anyone else in the company, Terry, so I'll definitely keep relying on you. Look up to me not only as your boss, but also like a parent. If you ever need help with something outside of work, I'll be here for you. I'll support you however I can. Thank you for everything. Even when it comes to my personal life, I really appreciate you taking me out to meals all the time. It's been such a big help. Terry treated me like family, always taking me out for meals and making sure I was okay. Since I put most of my paycheck toward my family, I lived on the bare minimum, and being treated to a meal was a lifesaver. Without Terry, I'm sure I would have been skin and bones. I might have even fallen into poor health and gotten sick from malnutrition. When I think about it, I'm truly grateful to have had such a wonderful boss like Terry. If it weren't for him, my daily life, not just my work, would have been affected. That's why I respected him so much and decided to work hard for him. I've always been someone who finds meaning in working for others, not just for myself or my family. Having someone outside my family to show gratitude toward gave me even more motivation. One day, while I was working as usual, Terry called me in. Sorry for calling you in all of a sudden. There was a meeting with the executives and something important came up. It's about the company's future, so I thought you should know. I don't mind being called in at all, but what was the important news about the company's future? Don't tell me it's something like low sales or the company going bankrupt. Don't say things like that. Thanks to your hard work, our sales are steadily climbing. You don't have to worry about bankruptcy. Oh, that's a relief. So what's the important news? Is it something I should be aware of? Actually, while our sales have been growing steadily, we've been working with more and more clients with overseas headquarters. You've noticed that too, right? Yes, I've noticed that some of our clients are based abroad, but does that have anything to do with what you're telling me? That's right. To handle these clients more effectively, there's been talk about establishing an overseas branch. It's still only being discussed among the executives, so nothing is set in stone yet. I see. I had no idea the executives were discussing that. I didn't expect something like that at all. Apparently, the idea of setting up an overseas branch had been circulating among the executives for a while. But as an ordinary employee, I hadn't heard anything about it. Besides, even if an overseas branch were established, I thought I wouldn't be sent there since I didn't have a college degree or any other language skills. Despite having top sales results in the company, I still felt inexperienced and figured an overseas transfer wouldn't apply to me. However, contrary to my expectations, I was called to a meeting with the board of directors. I felt a little nervous as I stepped into the meeting room, wondering what it was all about. When I walked in, all the board members were present, and I broke into a nervous sweat. Why did you call me here? Did I make a mistake? There's no need to be so tense. We didn't call you here to scold you. Please sit down and listen calmly. Yes, of course. Thank you. So, what's this about? I've never been called to a meeting like this before. We called you here because we have a request. Please understand that this isn't meant to make things difficult for you. With that in mind, will you hear us out? Of course, but what kind of request requires such a preface? I trust you all, but I can't help feeling anxious. It's been a few years since you joined the company, Michael. Despite starting with a high school diploma, you've grown tremendously and become an essential part of our team. We're very grateful. I really appreciate hearing that, but such a build-up is making me even more nervous. Could you please get to the point? Judging from their expressions, it didn't seem like a small matter. Everyone looked like they were waiting for someone else to speak up. Sensing the tension in the room, I just wanted them to tell me what it was so I could relax. The board members seemed to understand how I felt, but their hesitation was stronger still. The conversation had to move forward, and someone needed to speak. Terry, sensing the need, took the lead and spoke on behalf of the group. The reason I called you in today is related to what we talked about last time. That's why I'm speaking on behalf of everyone. What I'm about to tell you could affect the course of your life. Are you ready for that? It's hard to be ready when you suddenly say something like that. Also, what do you mean by it being related to our last conversation? I've talked with you so much, Terry. I'm not sure which one you're referring to. I'm talking about the discussion we had about establishing an overseas branch. That idea has become much more realistic, and we'd even narrowed down the countries where we might open it. Oh, right. We did talk about that. I didn't think it was related at all, so I completely forgot. Last time, it sounded more hypothetical, but now it's actually taking shape. Exactly. After multiple meetings among the executives, we concluded that having an overseas branch would increase our sales and help expand the company. If we set up an overseas branch at this point, it would definitely make transactions with our existing clients smoother. I think it's a great idea with a lot of potential benefits. I'm glad to hear you say that, especially since you're our top salesperson. Hearing that from you makes me even more confident this move will succeed. Let's move forward with this plan. I understand the part about opening an overseas branch, but what's the request you mentioned? It sounds like it's a different matter, right? No, this is exactly what I wanted to talk to you about. We want you, Michael, to be the representative of the overseas branch. What? What exactly do you mean by that? I had a vague idea where the conversation was going, but I never expected them to actually make such a proposal. To be honest, I thought they wanted to ask for my input on strategies for building the branch as the top salesperson. But it turned out they wanted me to be directly involved. And not just involved, but to take the lead as the representative. Of course, I was honored by the company's trust in me, but I'd grown up in a poor family and had never even been overseas. Plus, I'd only been working for a few years. How could I take on the role of branch representative? I didn't want to accept out of obligation and end up causing trouble, so I decided to be honest about my feelings. I know this must be overwhelming to hear all of a sudden, but remember, this is still in the planning stages. Just take your time and think it over, okay? I'm really grateful for your faith in me, but I've never been abroad, and I don't speak another language at all. I don't think I'm ready for something like this yet. Don't worry. We plan to assign interpreters to help with the language barrier. That being said, I understand your concerns. You've only been working here for a few years, and I know you're thinking about your family too, so I'm not expecting an immediate answer. Yeah, I still need to look after my younger siblings, so the idea of going overseas feels really tough right now. I'm sorry for turning down such an amazing opportunity. No, I appreciate your honesty. You're right. It's a lot to ask of someone who was in high school not too long ago. I'm really happy you believe in me, but I still have so much to learn. I'm worried I might cause problems if I take on such a big responsibility. Let me ask you this. If you gain more experience and a few more years pass, do you think you'd be willing to take on an overseas assignment? Well, I'm not uninterested. If I can grow more as a salesperson, I'd love to take on that kind of challenge someday. Understood. For now, keep working hard here in the US. When the time comes that you're ready, it would mean a lot if you became our branch representative. Thank you so much for supporting me through everything. I want to grow into someone who can live up to the company's expectations and be ready to work overseas someday. That's how I ended up declining the offer to become the overseas branch representative. Since I wasn't married or tied down, I technically could have accepted the assignment. Usually, declining such an offer would mean being taken off the fast track for promotions. But the executives didn't abandon me. They told me to let them know if I ever felt ready to take on the challenge. So, I resolved to prepare myself and grow, aiming to be ready for an overseas role someday. With that in mind, I started studying languages while continuing to work hard. A few months after that meeting, the overseas branch was officially opened and began operations. However, in the first few years, the branch struggled and didn't generate much profit. In the midst of that, Terry called me in again. Sorry for calling you in so suddenly. I needed to talk to you about something important. It's been a while since you've called me in for something important. Is there some kind of issue? I thought things had been going smoothly lately. I'm sure you've heard about this, but the overseas branch we set up a few years ago is in trouble. If things continue like this, it might have to be shut down. I'd heard things weren't going well, but I didn't realize it was bad enough to consider closing it. I didn't expect that at all. We had hoped things would go better, but it hasn't grown as much as we expected, Terry continued. The executives have been talking about it. We really don't want to shut it down after all the effort it took to open it. It'd be such a waste to close it after just a few years. I understand the situation now, but why was I called in? Well, you've been studying languages since the branch opened because you knew you might get sent overseas one day. I wanted to know how you felt after hearing all this. Oh, so that's what this is about. Well, since I've been studying languages, I feel confident that I can contribute. If you think I'm ready, Terry, I'd like to take on the challenge. That's great. Then go for it. I'll inform the executives. Go overseas and give it your all. You've grown so much these past few years. I know you'll do great. After several years, I was finally transferred to the overseas branch. For those years, I had been studying languages alongside my job, so I was able to hold everyday conversations pretty comfortably. Of course, I wasn't sure how well it would hold up abroad, but compared to when I was first invited, I was much more confident. Back then, I couldn't speak any at all, and never thought I'd be able to work overseas. But after years of studying and working hard, I felt like I could make a real impact at the overseas branch. Feeling ready, I told Terry about my intentions and got the chance to take on the challenge. When I arrived at the overseas branch, I performed better than I had expected. Apparently, the branch had hired only local staff and hadn't been able to recruit the best talent. That's why they had been struggling. And just by me being there, the situation changed drastically. 10 years passed, and I was finally called back to the main office. When I returned, the staff had changed completely. It was filled with people I didn't know. However, they held a welcome party for me to celebrate my return. Today, we're throwing a welcome party for some guy none of us really know who just joined the company. Turns out he's a high school graduate, so he must be useless. Well, I'm not sure what to say to that introduction. I don't know where this guy came from, but imagine being our age and only having a high school diploma. There's no way someone like that belongs here. I actually came from overseas. Oh, so you couldn't get a job anywhere here and had to go abroad just to survive? Man, it must be tough being low-educated and incompetent. That's not really how it happened. You don't have to make excuses. I just don't get why our company hired someone who's only qualified to work overseas. The person making these remarks was Thomas, the department head at the main office. He seemed completely unaware of who I was or what I'd done at the overseas branch. He assumed I was some outsider from another company and judged me solely based on my education. I had been looked down upon for my education before, so this wasn't anything new to me. But it irritated me that his inappropriate comments were ruining the mood of the welcome party for everyone. Even though I wanted to say something back, I held my tongue since this was my first time meeting Thomas. Then, my former colleague Emily, who had worked with me before I left for the overseas branch, spoke up. "Thomas, are you seriously saying you don't know who Michael is? I can't believe someone at our company doesn't know about him." "Why would I? He just joined today. Did he get famous for committing a crime overseas or something? You really should stop looking down on Michael. You're going to regret it when you find out who he really is." Why would I regret finding out the truth about some incompetent high school grad? Nothing about this guy is going to surprise me. He's probably only known because of some trouble he causes. Judging by your reaction, you really don't know, do you? I bet everyone else here knows who Michael is and agrees with me. Emily, I appreciate you standing up for me, but you're really raising the stakes here. I'm not that big of a deal, so let's not overdo it. See? Even he admits it. He's just someone with a bit of fame, but no real value. Thomas truly didn't know who I was and kept looking down on me relentlessly. Even after Emily called him out, he kept his arrogant attitude and showed no signs of changing. From the other employees, I learned that Thomas often acted condescendingly toward others. But since he had never encountered someone with a high school education like mine, he seemed especially dismissive toward me. I had never met Thomas before, so I assumed he was only behaving this way toward me. However, it turned out he had a reputation for souring the office atmosphere with his behavior. While this exchange was happening, Terry arrived at the restaurant where the party was being held. I heard Michael was back, so I wrapped up work early and rushed over. "You've done an amazing job these past 12 years, Michael. I'm really grateful for everything you've done. Thank you so much for always listening to my requests. Terry, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have grown as much as I had. Even though I never got the chance to visit you over there, I kept hearing stories about how you were thriving. I've always been proud of you, Michael. I'm really glad to hear that. Of course, the work overseas was tough, but I learned a lot, and it turned out to be an incredible experience. The fact that you're back at the main office now means we get to see an even better version of you. I'm excited to see how much you'll achieve here. You're making me nervous, Terry, but I'll do my best to meet your expectations. Thanks so much for coming to the welcome party." Why is someone like Terry, a top executive, so close with a high school grad like him? Are you two long-lost relatives or something? Thomas genuinely had no clue who I was and couldn't understand why I was so friendly with Terry. Since I'd been working overseas for 12 years and rarely returned to the U.S., it made sense that he was confused. "Thomas, what on earth are you talking about? Michael is the one who turned our overseas branch around and made it grow. Even now that he's back at headquarters, he's still overseeing all of our international operations. Are you talking about the overseas division that accounts for more than half of our company's revenue? We have over 10 branches. Are you saying he's managing all of them?" "That's exactly what I'm saying. There used to be only one branch, and even that one was struggling. But after Michael went overseas, it flourished, and we kept expanding." I did hear something about someone who went abroad and massively boosted sales, but I never imagined that person was a high school graduate. You always judge people based on their education, and that's something you need to fix if you want to grow. If you let being a department head go to your head, I won't hesitate to demote you. I'm terribly sorry. It's been a while since I've been back at the main office, and there are a lot of things I don't know. I'd really appreciate it if you could help me out when I need it. Of course, please don't hesitate to ask me for anything. I deeply apologize for my rude attitude earlier. Thomas shrank back after Terry warned him about being demoted for getting carried away and apologized to me. Since I wasn't angry to begin with, I accepted his apology right away. Now that I was back at headquarters, I knew I needed to carefully plan things out to contribute to the company. As part of that effort, I proposed forming a new internal group. When I told Terry about it, he made me an executive so I could lead the team. I'd never imagined that someone who started with just a high school diploma could become an executive, and I couldn't hold back my tears of joy. I know there will be more challenges ahead, but I'm determined to face them head-on with everything I've got.